After years of being in clinical trials and working with psychedelic medicines, this is the best way we've come up to explain what these medications do and why they are so effective at treating mental health conditions. So you might remember Freud's his idea of the human mind is like an iceberg. We are going to use the same metaphor but update it with some modern neuroscience. But don't worry, this is going to make a lot of sense to you, okay? So we're going to start here with the part of the iceberg above the surface of the water. It represents the part of your mind that you can see and that you think of as you, right? It's your conscious mind, it's rational, it's verbal, it's your conscious thoughts, beliefs, and values. Abstract knowledge and cognitive processing happen here, right? So if I asked you to recall something that you learned in a book, like what is the speed of light or what is 18 plus 30, this is where that happens, okay? It's also made up of what is called declarative memory, which means it's the type of memory that you can consciously recall, right? And you can put those memories into words. So this is the part of your mind that takes an event in your life and constructs a story about it, right? So it's the part of you that constructs meaning about your life and the world around you. And by the way, this feature, the meaning making, is something that we do as humans that no other animal does, right? So this part is uniquely human, again, in that it generates, it constructs meaning, and it's capable of higher order cognitive thought that other animals just don't quite have, right? And then finally, it's the most recently developed part of the brain, right? And again, other mammals have rudimentary versions of this, but we've got it in spades, okay? So I said this earlier, but I'll say it again just because it bears repeating, that this is the part of you that you identify as being you, right? You think you are your thoughts, your values, your belief systems. We think that we are our story. This is your sense of I. It's your everyday, normal mind, your ordinary state of consciousness. And it's a delusion. Right? This perspective is a delusion, I should say. Thinking that this is all that you are, and if you could just get your thoughts in order, everything would be fine, is a delusion. And unfortunately, the type of psychology that dominates in the US thinks that this is the case, and it is so obviously not. Right? The dominant modality here is cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, or talk therapy in general. And have you ever heard that expression, change your thoughts, change your life? That is basically the motto of cognitive behavioral therapy and most self-help advice as well, right? So, and it's assuming that we can heal and control our lives from the thought-based center of the brain. And the thing is, guys, that the human mind just doesn't work this way. You don't work this way. Healing is not based on control and censorship from one part of your mind over everything else, right? Working up here just doesn't create lasting psychological change. We don't heal patterns like addiction from this place. We might learn to manage it or limit the destructiveness of it, but we don't fundamentally heal what created it in the first place. You can't heal PTSD, trauma, anxiety, or depression from up here either. We just learn better coping management strategies up here, right? And if that's the best we can do, then great, we'll take it. But I think we can do a lot better than that, right? And so this is because this is only the tip of the iceberg, right? When it comes to who you are. This part of us showed up about 200,000 years ago. It is the new kid on the block, evolutionarily speaking. Right, so there's a whole giant section down here, however, that's hidden from our awareness. It's the subconscious, and just like the iceberg where the unseen part below the water is far larger than the visible part above the water, the subconscious is invisible to us, and it holds the vast majority of programming for who we are and how we operate in the world. Right? It is a mammalian core that's been in development for 275 million years, right? So just get that, right? So on the one hand, you have 400,000 years versus 275 million years. Which do you think has more impact and control over your life? The subconscious is the invisible, non-conscious foundation upon which everything is built, right? So let's break it down. The subconscious holds the part of your mind that are non-verbal, non-rational, non-linear. It has a lot more to do with concrete sensations, raw emotions, and direct experience. It doesn't make up stories. It doesn't make meaning. It's raw sensory data coming in from your five senses, right? It holds the memories of events in your life that took place before you could even speak. So these are non-verbal memories. It holds dissociated memories, which are events or things that have happened to you that your mind is protecting you from by keeping these memories hidden from you. Your conscious personality is formed by experiences you don't have conscious access to knowing about. So it's kind of weird, right? It's to think that who you are was formed before you had the ability to remember what formed you, but that's how it works for us, right? The subconscious is made up of foundational parts of your body, like your autonomic nervous system, your brainstem, the limbic system. This is where fear, anger, panic, rage, depression, hopelessness, where these experiences get generated, right? These are emotional experiences that are fundamentally nervous system responses that get generated below the level of your consciousness. You are probably used to thinking that it is your thoughts that create anger, upset, or depression. In our experience, it's the exact opposite, where your nervous system is triggered by events in your life or memories that are coming up, and your nervous system generates anger, upset, or depression, and our minds then generate thoughts and a sense of the world to match those experiences, right? The mind comes secondary in this case. The subconscious is the repository of your experiences. If you had a stable, secure, loving childhood and family, that programming lives in the subconscious as well, right? So it's not all bad news. And in fact, the really good news here is that there are profound healing impulses and responses that live in the subconscious. It's full of healing capacities that the conscious mind just does not have access to. So think about what happens every night when you fall asleep and you dream, right? So your mind leaves its ordinary state of consciousness and enters a non-ordinary state of dreaming that is not rational, right? That it doesn't make sense to anybody else. When you tell people about your dreams, it doesn't make sense to them. And even when you wake up, your dreams don't quite make sense. But when you're there, when you're in dreamland, which is to say when you are in your subconscious mind, the emotions, the things that you're seeing and feeling in your dreams make a lot of sense to you, and your mind is processing. It's working on things through your dreams. Right, so you are entering your subconscious mind through sleep and dreaming. Now, the entry level or the first level of psychedelics like ketamine, cannabis, MDMA, and psilocybin do the same exact thing, but in a much more powerful way, right? They create a non-ordinary state of consciousness, which allows you to enter into your subconsciousness. In fact, we think that this is the key element that these, and in fact all psychedelic medicines, have in common. Their entire therapeutic value, in our opinion, is that they cause you to enter into a temporary, non-ordinary dream state while you are awake. And you can look at and alter your subconscious programming in an incredibly therapeutic way with this, right? It's an incredible therapeutic opportunity that far exceeds any tinkering that we can accomplish by working with your conscious mind. And this is because your conscious mind doesn't hold your core programming, right? And of course, if you're going to engage and alter your core programming this way, you want a specially trained therapist in there with you. You don't want to be doing this level of work by yourself, okay? Just saying that. And finally, the other common traits that these medicines used therapeutically have is that they cause hidden events, memories, hidden parts of yourself to become visible. Right? So this is why we call these medicines expressive medicines. They cause the subconscious to become expressed. And this is why we're seeing such great results with psychedelic-assisted psychotherapy across the board, from the MDMA trials to the psilocybin research at Johns Hopkins to all the ketamine research on depression. Is there some precise biochemical profile that these very different medicines have that magically works so well for so many mental health conditions, even though they are all biochemically very different? No, the answer is that, what they all do have in common is that they are tapping into the innate healing tendencies that live within all of us, right? Within our subconscious. They are sort of sidelining the conscious mind and focusing on the subconscious. And they all allow us to spend time there with support, right? We can enter into and work with the subconscious with the support of a therapist in ways that we just can't do through dreaming or through ordinary consciousness, right? So I know that there are a lot of people out there that find the idea of going into a psychedelic experience where they're not in control to be very scary. But think about it this way. You let go of control and let go into your subconscious every night when you fall asleep, right? You might dream of the house you grew up in, or feel like a kid, or be seeing something scary in your dreams. And it's not that different from a psychedelic experience. The only real difference is that these medicines take you much deeper into your own mind, and you are able to go there with the support of external support, the support of a clinician. So having said that, here's an important key point, right? The therapies that are designed to support and even reinforce your ordinary state of consciousness are not the same therapies that you want when you are operating down here in the subconscious, right? In other words, cognitive behavioral therapy, talk therapy in general, are working in the exact opposite direction that psychedelic medicines want to go, right? So when you're down here, we want therapies that are less verbal and more feeling-based, more body-based. We want therapies that actually embrace the non-rational, the non-verbal, the non-linear, the non-ordinary reality that is operating down here. And this is all to say, we want a non-ordinary state psychotherapy to work with non-ordinary states of consciousness, right? That only makes sense. We strongly feel that this is the future of psychotherapy, where we're going to be less focused on changing your thoughts and more interested in working with the reality that is stored in your subconscious mind, right? Finally, I want to say something about the more advanced psychedelics that are growing in popularity in the US. I'm talking about ayahuasca, LSD, peyote, San Pedro, and psilocybin at higher doses, right? So if we go back to the iceberg picture here, we can see that these medicines do something very different. And I'll describe it this way. The level 1 psychedelics that we were just talking about cause you to be connected to more of you, right? They are personal in nature. They don't cause you to transcend your own ego. They heal your ego, in fact. If you have trauma, if you have psychological wounds, this is where you want to work, right? These medicines are perfect for the Western mind that thinks it is only the tip of the iceberg, because they help you in reclaiming the rest of you, the rest of the iceberg. Right? The level 2, or the more serious psychedelic medicines, are profoundly healing, and they work by getting us connected to everything else, right? To the universe, to being itself. So in our picture, these medicines work to get us connected to the water, the ocean, right? That's holding the iceberg. Another way of conceiving of this is to think back to that movie Avatar, right? So if you remember, the blue Pandorans. I know it's kind of a silly thing to be referencing right now, but if you remember, the blue Pandorans could link with other animals and also their entire planet through their tails, right? You got a sense that their sane and healthy existence was because they lived in such a connected state to their environment. I came away from that movie thinking, where's my tail? Where I wish I had the experience of such an alive, spirit-filled, actively loving, caring world that I could connect into. Well, we do have a tail, and these traditional psychedelic medicines are it, right? These medicines are our tail. There's profound healing that takes place when we plug into being. We realize we're not alone. We realize how supported and how loved we really are by all of existence. You realize that your small human self is not all that you are. Right? These medicines are transpersonal in nature, meaning that they transcend or go beyond your personal egoic existence. They connect you to something far bigger than just yourself. Right? Here's the thing though, right? So even though these are incredibly powerful transpersonal medicines, and far be it from me to say what they can or cannot do, but here's the rule of thumb that we've found to be the case, right? That it can be problematic to go from here to here, right? So for the most part, most people who go into these ceremonies have some level of trauma or psychological issues that are creating the symptoms that they're trying to get relief from. Most people who take these medicines are likely living here in the tip of the iceberg with psychological, egoic level wounding, and they haven't done the egoic level healing work. This creates a problem, right? This little cognitive powered, separate, small self, small ego can't handle plugging into the universe. It'll blow your circuits, and your system won't know what to do with that, with those experiences. Our suggestion is to get a healthy ego structure first before you do things that will cause you to move beyond it, right? So this is what is known as bypassing. You are bypassing you're bypassing your painful, flawed, egoic structure to get to a spiritual reality that's less painful. It's a confusing experience for a small, unhealthy ego to try and take in everything. It's harder to integrate and have it become part of you, which means that you have to keep going back over and over again to that big spiritual reality. And it may even lead to psychotic breaks, right? So our recommendation is that you reclaim this. You develop a more connected, more integrated, healthy ego before engaging in the transpersonal realm, before engaging with medicines or practices that really take you to the transpersonal realm. Okay, so that's it. I hope you found this useful. I want to be clear, in no way am I suggesting unwise or illegal drug use. In fact, just the opposite, right? There are legal and very helpful therapeutic pathways that you can be guided through to get the best results possible with these medicines in psychotherapy. Take care.